Picture Moses parting the sea. You probably imagine a young, fierce warrior prince defying an empire. The historical reality is actually quite different and far more fascinating than that. Moses was not a majestic young hero. He was an 80-year-old exiled shepherd with a stutter, facing the most terrifying military superpower of the late Bronze Age. Imagine being trapped between an unstoppable chariot army and a massive body of water. There was simply nowhere left to run. This was their ultimate life or death moment. To truly understand how this desperate situation unfolded, we must rewind to the very beginning. It was a dark, terrifying era for the ancient Israelite people living in Egypt. The ruthless Pharaoh had ordered every newborn Hebrew boy to be thrown into the Nile. But one courageous mother, Jochebed, flatly refused to give up hope for her child. She coated a small papyrus basket with pitch, placed her baby inside, and set it afloat among the river reeds. She prayed desperately for a divine miracle to happen. Pharaoh's own daughter discovered this floating vessel. Moved with deep compassion by the crying infant, she declared him beautiful and decided to raise the boy as her very own. The Hebrew child grew up enjoying the privileges of an Egyptian prince. However, years later, Moses finally discovered his true ethnic identity and the harsh reality of his origins. Witnessing an Egyptian taskmaster brutally beating an Israelite slave, Moses reacted in sudden, violent anger. He killed the abuser, and fearing immediate execution, he fled deep into the desert. Finding remote refuge within the rugged land of Midian, Moses helped some local shepherdesses at a watering well. This simple act of unexpected kindness completely transformed his future life. One of those women, Zipporah, quickly caught his eye. She was the daughter of a respected Midianite priest named Jethro. Soon after their meeting, the two were happily married. Decades passed quietly as Moses embraced a humble shepherd's existence. Then, while guiding his flock near a holy mountain, he witnessed an incredibly strange and highly supernatural visual anomaly. A desert bush burned intensely, yet the fragile branches were not consumed by the fierce flames. From within this mysterious fire, a booming, divine voice suddenly called his name. The voice declared profound sorrow over the suffering Israelites. God commanded Moses to return to the mighty Pharaoh and boldly demand the immediate release of his enslaved captive people. Terrified and insecure, Moses questioned his own worthiness and complained about his speech impediment. God reassured him, promising divine presence and assigning his eloquent brother Aaron as his spokesman. Empowered by this sacred assurance, the brothers returned to Egypt. Standing before the mighty monarch, they delivered a simple yet incredibly dangerous message directly from their ancestral God. They demanded freedom to worship in the wilderness. The arrogant ruler scoffed at their request, questioning their deity's authority and stubbornly refusing to let the valuable slave workforce leave. Because of this hardened heart, a terrifying sequence of 10 catastrophic plagues struck the Egyptian empire. These disasters systematically humiliated Egypt's pantheon and plunged the entire nation into chaos. First, the sacred Nile River transformed into foul blood, killing aquatic life completely. Then, an unprecedented swarm of slimy frogs invaded every corner, reaching even the most royal bedrooms. Next came relentless swarms of tiny gnats, making life utterly miserable for everyone. Shortly after, thick clouds of biting flies swarmed homes and palaces, adding significantly to their torment. A sudden, deadly disease then ravaged the livestock, devastating the ancient agricultural economy. Afterward, excruciating, painful boils erupted on both human skin and animal hides across the entire kingdom. Massive hailstones mixed with fire battered the fields, flattening surviving crops and shattering trees. Millions of ravenous locusts followed, completely devouring whatever meager green vegetation the harsh storm spared. An unnatural, suffocating darkness covered the land for 3 full days. Finally, the most devastating 10th plague arrived, silently taking the lives of Egypt's precious firstborn sons at midnight. Shattered by immense grief, the defeated Pharaoh finally ordered the Israelites to leave immediately. The Hebrews moved quickly, fulfilling a generational promise by carrying Joseph's ancient bones with them. However, the Egyptian ruler's pride soon flared up again. Regretting his emotional decision, he mobilized his elite chariot divisions and relentlessly pursued his former slaves across the harsh desert. Trapped against the crashing waves of the Red Sea, the terrified Israelites panicked completely. Their absolute worst nightmares were coming true as heavily armed soldiers closed the remaining distance. In that seemingly hopeless moment, Moses bravely raised his wooden staff high. A powerful eastern wind miraculously split the deep waters, revealing a dry pathway through the seafloor. Hearts pounding wildly, the Israelites rushed across this impossible corridor. Towering walls of liquid water loomed ominously on both sides as they sprinted desperately toward the distant opposite shoreline. Once the refugees were completely safe, Moses stretched out his hand again. The massive ocean walls violently collapsed inward, permanently swallowing the pursuing Egyptian army in a watery grave. Standing on the newly liberated shore, Miriam, the prophetess, proudly grabbed her timbered tambourine. She led the joyous women in passionate song, praising the Lord for their miraculous deliverance. Their voices echoed loudly across the desert winds, singing that God was their ultimate strength and salvation. The long, brutal nightmare of slavery had finally ended for their people. While Moses still faced a daunting wilderness journey ahead, his incredible story proves that true freedom and enduring hope remain possible, even when facing completely insurmountable historical odds today. If you found this historical deep dive fascinating, please remember to subscribe to our channel. Your support directly helps us create more amazing ancient history videos, just like this.